there's one word that I can describe this movie, it would be it's a movie that to me doesn't feel like that it could be a standout movie, a once in a lifetime icon that people love and rave. But it also isn't a movie that is bad or horrible or unbearable to watch. As stated, the movie is it's an all-rounder, a movie that isn't too heavily focused on the deeper aspects of storytelling that is similar to Godzilla Minus One, but it still does enough to be a movie that is made for everyone to watch and to enjoy. It's a family-friendly movie, which I'm pretty sure they have stated. So initially, this movie isn't really meant to be taken that seriously. And to look at the current reviews with what people are saying, I would say that I would agree with most of what these people are saying. If Ultraman wants to conquer the world, he'll have to try something livelier than a cartoon that looks like a kid's movie but lurches about like a saccharine family drama. What the hell does saccharine even mean? Excessively sweet or sentimental? So I guess that's a good thing. But I do primarily agree with what most people are saying about this movie. It's an enjoyable movie to watch, something for everyone. And as it seems at this moment, many articles are coming out with saying how well it is, and to even go so far as to say that it might be better than Godzilla X Kong. I haven't seen Godzilla X Kong, so I can't make a judgment on whether I agree with it or not, but I guess some people see it that way. So to get back to the point, this movie is a very all-rounder movie. It does well enough to make me want to keep watching, while still having moments that I felt that were lackluster and left me feeling like those moments didn't fit into the movie at all. Alright, I don't completely hate this movie, but it's still not really one of my favorites. So let's talk about some things about this movie that I like, dislike, and potentially what I find weird about it. Let's begin. Spoilers ahead. What do I like about this movie? Honestly, the monster baby. I feel like it is, well, yeah, it is the highlight of this movie, as explained by the trailers. I mean, as much as I felt that the way the movie was going, which was a direction that was predictable yet intriguing, the aspects of having this monster baby being a pivotal role in affecting the lifestyle and character of Ken was emotional and understandable. I felt like the creators of this movie wanted, from the very beginning, a movie that was telling a story of a main character that has daddy issues, hates becoming Ultraman, and didn't want anything to do with monsters, to then become a character that is pretty much the opposite of all that. And as you watch the movie, you start to understand as to why the baby monster was needed, because it is the one thing that had affected the main character the most. It was the one thing that made him realize the truth within himself, to understand that his real potential wasn't always meant to be a superstar baseball player, but an inspiration and a hero of hope. As we see from his struggles in the beginning when he was someone who got agitated easily whenever things weren't going his way. Wait. You know what? There's no need to analyze this so incredibly deeply. Essentially, before you even start to watch it, you can tell almost right away that this monster baby is going to be the one thing that is going to affect the lifestyle of this main character. Alright, I feel like the more I begin to explain the whys of this movie, I feel like I would be wasting a lot of time. It is a movie in which nothing should be taken too seriously, even with all the plot twists that happen in which you'll have to watch to find out yourself. It still is a movie that covers the basics of character development and storytelling. I'm gonna go straight to the point here. Essentially, everything that you can think of with any cliches of a movie, it is always shown in this movie. But I'm not going to nitpick on all that, because the way that this movie was written and the direction that it was flowing, you could almost get a feeling that, yeah, these moments were to be expected, that hey, Ken left the baby at home to go get interviewed, and of course the baby monster decides it's time to wreak havoc and destroy stuff at the moment he leaves. But I feel like that it's sort of trivial to nitpick on this, because what happens in real life if you leave a baby at home without a proper parental guardian? Yeah, of course it's gonna wreak havoc and destroy stuff, and the parental guardian will be complaining to you about it. Not like I have any dependents that are under my name, but it should be obvious that to leave anything on its own and where that thing has no training or is still learning, then it's obviously gonna turn into one big nightmare. So I'm not gonna nitpick on this. I don't see the point of it. But there are also many other examples like this that seem to leave you questioning as to why Ultraman couldn't have done this, why Ken couldn't do that. But is it really necessary to question it? Because the way that I see it, I believe for everything that is shown and every way that is written in this movie, there's a reason from the creators to make it that way. From what I felt when I watched this movie, the creators wanted a movie that is fun for for everyone. So they made a story that is easy for us to understand, while still having elements of success and failure, anger and acceptance, etc, etc. Themes that we all can relate to and form an empathetic view of the characters that are depicted, and that every person and every monster had a something within their lives that they were fighting to protect, as it was the thing that they had loved the most and would do anything to prevent any harm. Because the main villain of the movie is seen as the bad guy from the viewer's perspective, but the creators also gave us a reason as to why he was who he was, and it didn't necessarily make him 100% completely the villain, as he was also fighting to protect the one thing that he had loved the most, making us feel that the characters on two sides of the spectrum had similar goals within their lives, but they took different paths from the events that happened that led to the characters to not see each other as friends or people who could relate to their struggles, but rather by seeing them as someone who was standing in their way and preventing them from reaching their goals and potentials. But I still like the baby monster though, because yeah, I don't see how this movie will be if they don't include it. I'm pretty sure they'll make baseball a reason for Ken to trust his dad again. What do I dislike about this movie? My favorite part of this segment, because this is where I can make myself look like a complete asshole by nitpicking on the tiniest of details, like why they don't make the mums and stickers Miss Incredible. Yeah, but I do have a genuine reason as to why there is something that I don't like in this movie, and thinking about it now, it could also be what I find weird about it. So what do I dislike and find weird about this movie? Those damn creators, huh? Those sly copycats. The reason why I say this is because the movie literally took ideas from Dragon Force Rise of Ultraman. Initially, when I first reacted or learned about this movie through watching trailers and reading some stuff about it, my first thought was, hey, this looks exactly like Dragon Force Rise of Ultraman, which is a Chinese knockoff movie that used the Ultraman IP without Subaraya certification and created a movie about a kid that is based on values about family and Ultraman, a monster baby that cracks from the egg and is then looked after by the kid, an AI machine that follows the kid everywhere and helps the kid with things about life and stuff, a monster that is fighting against the villain, and worst of all, a giant mech that is straight out from Evangelion on Pacific Rim that is the final boss and the main villain of the entire movie. Alright, I thought I was just making a joke about Ultraman Rising that it looks like a... Man, I can't believe I'm going to say this. The original Chinese version. Yes, the Chinese one is the original one that was made before Ultraman Rising. Even though Dragon Force Rise of Ultraman is a bootleg movie that didn't have Subaraya permission, it is still a movie that was originally made by whoever made it. However, the irony of Rise of Ultraman is that the movie itself is literally copying everything else that seemed to be popular around the time that this crappy movie was made, because it included elements of Godzilla, Power Rangers or Super Sentai, and quite possibly How to Train Your Dragon, hence the name Dragon Force. So the movie is pretty similar to Ultraman Rising, but essentially Dragon Force Rise of Ultraman was a movie that copied everything else at that time, and the new Ultraman Rising movie copied Rise of Ultraman. A movie that copied the movie that already copies everything else about other movies. This is even more evident with the way Ultraman Rising starts out as, with the values of what Ultraman means to the people, and then a scene of a family making dinner while being inspired by elements of Ultraman. And to make it even worse, a sudden monster or villain that appears to attack the city. Alright, I'm not the crazy one here, right? I'm not the only one that has 20/20 vision and noticed this straight away when I watched this movie. This seriously can't be a coincidence. The creators of this movie must have known about this prior to making the movie. The beginning of it was way too similar, man. I can't believe it. But there are some major differences between these two movies though that can differentiate the two. First thing, the Rise of Ultraman movie just sucks. There's literally no story to it. It's all just random things that are squeezed together in one movie, and there is constantly action and fight scenes that doesn't stop, with no breaks in between to develop the characters in any sort of way, and the constant knockoffs of popular IPs that were shown at the time. It just sucks in general. I stopped watching after the dragon baby pops out of the egg and Ultraman was in some sort of cube in which he acts like an AI machine, giving advice or help for the main kid character, similar to how the AI robot in Ultraman Rising is used to give advice or give help to Ken. Second thing, the Ultraman Rising movie definitely has way more character development. They included elements of hardship for the main character, where we do watch him grow from anti-Ultraman and sort of rebellious character to someone who cares for monsters and family, and this is done without the need of constant action fighting sequences that are non-stop they actually did sort of give a reason as to why everyone needs to fight. As in the beginning, Ken was fighting monsters because that was what his father wanted him to do, to protect the monsters from the people while also preventing the KDF from getting involved, where they would kill the monsters to prevent them from existing. And Ken then develops to a person that protects everyone, because as you know it, for the family. I don't think I need to explain anymore. So in other words, the Dragon Force Rise of Ultraman movie had no purpose. It had no values. It was just about action, 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 copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. While Ultraman Rising was actually telling a story and gave us reasons as to how these events affect the personal values of the character, leading him to change and to accept himself for what his true purpose is and to go on with fulfilling it. But yeah, don't watch Dragon Force Rise of Ultraman. Even though it's free on YouTube, there's no English subs or dubs. It's all in Mandarin. I couldn't understand a single word that was said in that movie, but I could tell it was trash. So watch Ultraman Rising instead. Also, it's just so damn strange that Ultraman Rising had moments that are similar to Dragon Force Rise of Ultraman. I don't know if the creators took ideas from the Chinese version, but everything about it's too similar to be such a coincidence. I can't get over it. That's one thing I don't like about Ultraman Rising. But if the creators didn't know about it, then okay, fine, it gets a pass. But if they did know about it, then what the hell? I guess it's a better movie. But if the creators knew about it and they did it on purpose, then what a bunch of legends. Nice. Conclusion. So to conclude, watch Ultraman Rising. It's a movie that's an all-rounder, as stated, a family-friendly movie. Although there are times in where it depicts moments that could be seen as dark or grim, the overall outlook of it is a movie that promotes self-reflection and the act of caring. It's not a movie in which you would take too seriously. It's nothing like Ultraman Tiga Gejira episode where everyone is intoxicated by flower dust and it's up to a man with the power of God to stop the natural selection of mankind's free will leading to the end of humanity. It's nothing like that, but you also can't deny that there are moments that do put the character in a position of hardship. But hey, it's still a family-friendly movie that is meant to be enjoyed by most people, so I won't question it. It's overall still a pretty good movie, so I suggest watching it. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Very nice. Don't watch Dragon Force Rise of Ultraman. I'm begging you. That movie is straight up like a garbage truck. Don't watch it. It's so bad. You're gonna regret it. Don't watch it, okay? Please. I'm begging you. Don't. So yeah, bye.